Showtime, a-holes. We'll be here any minute.
Hey, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be completing the second segment on the bumper repair for cracks and breaks, and the scenario I went over in the first segment, but I'll be following it up today and showing you how to put in the body filler and some of the other steps that I'm taking to secure this bumper so it won't break again. Stay tuned. In today's segment, the things that I'm going to be using, things that you'll actually need, I'm using just a Bondo body filler over this. Sometimes I'll use fiberglass and I'll overlay the sections of fiberglass in and I sand all that out, but it's really not going to be that big of a job today, so I'm just going to use some body filler and some red cream hardener. I'll use the small applicator when I apply it to the actual bumper, and I got a quarter cup here. I measure out a quarter at a time and mix it up for just little places like, you know, what I'm doing on the bumper. I'll start on this side and work my way through, and there'll be a few dipped places, like I said, where the stuff, it butts together, but it's still just a little bit shy of being dead even. And I mean, you're not going to get it perfectly even every time. When you put your bumper back together, you're going to have a few places, and like I said, 180 grit, you go over it and it'll smooth it out for the most part, but you'll still get a little dip. As you can see that green line there, so that green line shows you where it's a little lower on one side, and the side that actually has the green line is going to be lower than the other side. I'm sure you've already figured it out, but you'll just put the filler in there and then you'll go back over and sand it down, and then it'll be prepped and ready for paint. But that's getting a little bit too far ahead. I'm going to show you how to mix this up. This is the stuff that you're going to need for today, and that's basically about it. Like I said, as always, I mean, you're going to need some like sandpaper. I use 180 grit, and when I go back over this to clean it out, I'll probably use an 80 grit to kind of bring it down to the level that I want, but I'll show you that. Also, you're going to want to go ahead and get a sanding block. This is a Bondo sanding block. You just pull the piece up here. There's 3 nail-like pieces in there, and you'll run your sandpaper up in there and press it down, and it'll hold it good and firm. The sandpaper, if you buy the 120, 180 grit, you can get this at Walmart. You can get it at Advance, AutoZone. Doesn't really matter. And these sanding blocks come in different sizes as far as width and length. The one you're going to need is just the standard that you'll get at, like I say, Walmart or Advance or AutoZone or any of the auto parts stores, and that piece will fit in there. And you'll need this so when you're going over it and you're doing the raised places, you're not using your hand, you're not dipping down into that spot. You're keeping a solid flat sand area, and it'll help with when you fill in some holes and some of that stuff. And you'll see as I'm sanding, I'll show you that. But you'll want to go ahead and get one of these, and they're relatively cheap. I don't know how much they are. I would say $5 or $6 maybe. But get yourself one of these and do yourself a favor and have this on hand, because you're going to need this. Okay, I've already popped this loose. Use an old plastic spoon you want to throw away, whatever, and scoop out what you need. I would suggest wearing some gloves as well. About the size of a golf ball. You really got to fill the whole quarter cup up. I just use quarter cups, so it's a little easier to measure out and do all of that jazz. About this much. You want about 1 inch to 1.25 inches of hardener. Run a line over top of it and mix it up. And once it's mixed, you've got 4 to 5 minutes of real work time with it. That's about what I average. That's about all the hardener you'll need. And mix it up real good. Okay, now that you've mixed it up real good, go ahead and start hitting the places that you want to hit with the excess that you have on your mixer. I'll get it down in those cracks and in those holes. You take your applicator and just kind of go over it. Just kind of smooth it out. It ain't really got to be flat, because you're going to sand this, so you can leave it bubbled up at some points. just like that. And don't really worry about any excess that you get in different places. A little bit of sandpaper, you hit it with that and then it'll come off. What you're doing now is you're basically just filling in the crack where it's a little raised on one side and a little down on the other. Just basically putting it in so that you don't have that height difference, and it fills in that crack so that when you sand it back down, once it's paintable, you won't see any of the lowered stuff. Okay, once you've spread out everything kind of even and left it a little over, all you gotta do is let it set and dry. Once it's dry, then you can come back and sand it down. And if there's anywhere else you need to touch up, you can hit it a second time. Now I've let this set for about 2 days. It's been kind of cold, so I just haven't been out here messing around, but it's a little warmer today. But I'll show you the close-up on this, and you can see there's some raised places here where the putty got kind of thick. And I'll take the 60 grit that I have, and I'm going to hit that with the 60 grit just to bring down some of the height on this, and then I'll go back with that 180 on that sanding block that I showed you, and I'll show you how these holes looked. And like I said, if there's anything that looks out of place or it needs to be hit again, I can do it again. First time sometimes is not always a charm, but we've got all the cracks and everything covered in, so let me get to sanding on this thing and I'll show you a little bit of that. Okay, I've folded this 60 grit little piece here, and I'm going to hit some of these higher places to kind of get it down so I can start sanding it, but I'll show you how fast this kind of works too. I mean, you ain't got to put a lot of pressure on it. You don't have to hit it really hard. Just lightly run over it, and you'll see it just brings it down really quickly. Really quickly. So now I'm not going to show you all of this. I mean, there's no need in me sitting here showing you how I'm sanding all this, but I'm going to hit it real quick with the 60, and I'm going to knock some of the height down on this, and then I'll come back and show you the 180 on the block. Okay, now that I've hit this with this 60 grit, you can see it's a lot smoother. It's brought it down quite a bit. I don't want to take it any further because I don't want to start ripping into some of these cracks and crevices that I've actually puttied up. So I'll go back to the 180 grit, and I'll bring it down a little slower, and I'll run my hands over it, and I'll feel where it's smooth, where it's not. I'll touch up those places. That way I don't have any bubbles or ripples. It's kind of looking like I'm going to have to hit this one little spot right here where this hole was for the license plate cover again. But I don't mind that. That's fine. Always keep a set of towels or a rag or just something around. So as you're doing this, you can kind of wipe it off from time to time and hit it. Now, if you're really hitting it with like the 60 grit, like what I've been doing, and I don't do a lot of promotion on this channel because, I mean, I ain't getting paid for it, but I keep this in my garage. This is pretty handy. This is a Shark, and it's a rocket, and it's really easy to clean up, and it comes with this tiny little wand head. So, I mean, it's got good suction on it, and then you can also use this brush piece here so you're not scratching up everything with a plastic tip. But these little Shark rockets, they work real good in the garage for just like getting like dust and stuff. And trust me, you're going to get a lot of dust in the process of sanding this whenever you're working on a bumper or plastic. I mean, it could be any kind of bumper. I mean, it works the same with this process, but you're going to get some dust when you sand this stuff back down. So if you're not doing it outside and you want to keep most of the dust off your stuff inside the room and all the, you got a broom or something, you sweep up the floor, but this works really good for like vacuuming that up. But enough rambling. Okay, I've switched over to the 180 grit sandpaper on the block, like I said, and I'm just going to hit this and bring it all down till it's nice and smooth and the cracks are all filled and it's all level, and I will show you what the finished product looks like once I'm finished with it. It's sort of looking like this place I thought was going to be bad and I was going to need to hit it again. I think that worked out. Once I brought the Bondo filler down, it's actually pretty smooth and it's really nice. no raised edges, so I'll leave that like it is, and I'll finish the rest of this, and I'll show you the finished product. Something that I would like to also add to this, when you're sanding your spots down, you don't have to always go back and forth like that, okay? This spot here was a little lower in this area than it was up here. So in order to get this the way I want it, I'm not really going over it back and forth. I'm hitting it in an upward sweep, kind of rounding it over the edge so that I'm not squaring the edge. I'm keeping it round. But I'm not using hardly any pressure at all. It's just lightly going over it, and that's really smoothing it out. And I mean, it's working perfect. And that'll be a nice, clean, smooth edge. You won't even feel it when you run your finger over it. And that's the way you want it to look, to feel. So just wanted to add that in. It's not always about back and forth. Sometimes you have to go down, sometimes you have to go up. You have to judge the situation on where you're sanding for yourself. And in that, you see that there are different angles and it's different techniques and different ways. But I mean, I've got a little OCD about certain things, so I like doing this, and it works out great for me, so you can try it too. Okay, well, this is pretty much done. Well done, or a done deal, as far as putting it back together and doing the prep work to get it ready for paint. But I'll get some close in there so you can see. But it's smooth. You can't even feel where the edges meet. And that's the way you want to do it. And you can't see the hole anymore. Hole is gone. So all this came out good. I even with a place where I thought it was going to have to be hit again because I thought the dip was too bad, it smoothed it right. It smoothed it right out, and it did pretty good. And I've hit over here, and I've hit down there. So the next process will be to wash this. I need to take it out and clean it up and get it prepared for paint. But that's going to be in the third segment that I'm going to release, because it's going to be a few days before I'm going to be able to do all that, because it is very, very cold here. Snowing off and on, and they're calling for more snow tonight, so I can't very well get outside and hook up the water hose and do some wash time with that. So it's going to be about maybe 4 or 5 more days before I'll be able to complete and put up the third section of the video, and that will be the actual prep and paint. But I hope you found this informative. If you have any questions, leave it in the comments below. Like, share, do whatever. And if you like this channel, subscribe. Appreciate it.